Welcome, everybody. Today, we have a very special day. Of course, we have the awards show, but even more special, we have special guest, Chris Garza of Suicide Silence.
What's up, Nick?
And the podcast. Man, how you doing today?
I'm alive and breathing.
That's a good start.
I turned, live breathing, got food, water, turned 39 2 days ago.
Dude, happy birthday. Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's crazy to, I keep having this conversation. It feels like my life and my career is just starting. It's weird. It's crazy.
Well, it's funny because obviously Suicide Silence, massive band, changed the entire game for so many people and people growing up
Appreciate
even
that.
now. But your podcast is so massive and such an important part of the metal community that, like,
Wow. Thank you.
I don't know how often you get it, but I'm sure you get a bunch of people that are like, I saw you from your podcast, and some people probably don't even know that you're in Suicide Silence.
That's actually been like an issue.
Oh,
I didn't know people. If I go to a show, I'm not boasting or anything, but if I go to a show, if I get recognized, 95% of the time they don't even mention like the band.
Really?
It's only I watch a podcast and I'm kind of waiting for them to say anything about the band, and they walk away.
Oh my God, that's
It's
crazy.
cool. It's cool, man. Like, I guess people who watch the podcast don't even know that about the band, which is crazy.
That's something that's it's probably, it has its pros and cons, but a lot of the pros is like, it has to be that you're able to have these two huge, amazing, and influential kind of entities and things you spent your life doing. Like,
it's crazy.
It's cool that someone can know one without having to know the other.
Sure.
Because you can also interact with just different audiences and different generations.
Yes.
Where, like, for me, that's always a tougher thing with, like, because mine, it's just everything is Nik Nocturnal and branded kind of the same similar thing where it's like, I'll get the, hey, I know you from the random TikTok video, which is funny.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's like internet, right?
Yeah.
And that can be also a little disjointing of like, because there's so many different stuff. But versus where you have is like, you have the podcast so honed in, and obviously Suicide Silence being massive and a huge success. Like,
Thank you.
That must be something that's probably stressful. Maybe they sometimes can't connect, but also maybe relieving. I'd assume of like not having to be like, oh damn, like it has to be all just the band or all just the podcast. Like having those two things. I don't know if that's something that's a bit more.
I don't know. It's definitely stressful.
Okay.
We were just talking prior. Like you'll do something. You're like, I'm stressed out. I can't go on.
Right.
But once you're done, you're happy that you did that grind, and now you have a new emotional, mental capacity to take on your next project. And it's kind of basically what I've been doing the past 4 years. Because even just days were like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? This is too much. It's like three lives, you know, building the podcast. Plus, you know, the band is in a good spot, but it took a while to kind of regain like what happened with our self-titled record. And plus, you know, I've been dating my chick for 5 years, so trying to be like a good partner, which is hard because we're men and we're wired as idiots. So you're kind of like trying to like not be so trying to be more compassionate and listen. So yeah, just this balancing all has been really it's a constant everyday learning, you know, experience. But I'm glad, you know, it's cool. I've learned so much about the podcast. I kind of transferred to the band. I learned about the band. I transferred to the pod, and then when I see my girlfriend, it says off, and then I'm just a boyfriend.
Well, the balance is so important, man. Like, especially when you're doing so much stuff, and it's not like at an intro level, like it's at a higher level. So like, there's always got to be that consistency and deliverability. Where like that's that pressure, obviously. Where like I'm sure you're like every podcast has to be an awesome podcast.
It has to be.
It doesn't matter who's the guest, right?
Nope. It has to be big, small. You don't know which one's going to do well. You don't. You really don't fucking know. So it's just whoever you're genuinely interested in, you just got to talk to them like they're the biggest band in the world. They're all the same.
Right. Yeah.
You don't know. Like, dude, I didn't know Glenn Benton has such a pool. I didn't talk to him because this is gonna do fucking however how many views. Like, you know, I'm curious about death metal. You know, I don't. You know, I guess what people might portray as a weakness of mine, for me, is my strength, because I don't really know a lot about some genres or bands. So I come into it like I was asked these, you know, off the top of the dome questions. Yeah. But that kind of it's like Suicide Silence. It's like we're not the best, but there's some secret sauce in there that you can't really put your finger on. You know, it's just kind of like that not knowing, that curiosity, that experimenting. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
You know.
Well, yeah, and that's something that, and again, I love having you here to talk with you in general because I've known you for so many years, and it's cool to just have you again on Sweetwater, and we're doing this crazy thing with this like cameras and production and all this stuff, but also like just to chat with you because I feel like I relate to you probably mostly more than many musicians and stuff because you also, again, when it comes to podcasting and also when it comes to music and running, and obviously guitar, which we're going to talk about this beautiful thing you have right here in a second. But like when it comes to that particularly, like talking with humans, something that's so natural, but also is so hard for many people to do because it's the instant assumption of like you have someone on your show or like it's press, so it has to be like this interview thing. You know, it has to be like ask you all this, or you have to know everything about them. And that's something I've always not like that presumption of like every guest I have on, like I don't want to know everything about them because then what's am I going to talk about? You know,
it's not fun.
It's not fun.
It's funny because people think like you know, like we'll go back to Glenn for example. I would argue if you put a know-it-all death metal guy with an other death metal artist, something's gonna be missing. So when you kind of go into it, not only you're interested, but also you ask some questions. But there's just something about the conversation flow. I can't put it into words. So there's always going to be people that will watch what you're doing and be like, oh, he doesn't know this, like, or doesn't know that. You know, he's a fucking poser. But
I get called that all day. Don't worry.
Same. But you know, most as you know, like at YouTube, which I had the same thought. The whole world is fucking watching. You don't know who's watching. Like you kind of need to put do my best and just let it go out there.
Yeah,
that's it.
And also if there's sometimes that element of like not know every single detail, it leads to actual curiosity and conversation. That's so much more interesting. And like I don't know if you feel the same when you have a guest on your show too. It's like I'm just like, wow, you're doing cool stuff, and I don't know exactly what it all is, and that's why I want to ask and talk about it because I want to like. Just as a human being kind of discover and see that process of how this is going on and happening. And some of my favorite episodes even has always been like the people I actually probably know the least amount about that I just get to learn so much. And I'm like, wow, like that was so cool. And because of that, that seems to translate usually the best, those episodes. Right?
Yeah, it's that fucking secret sauce. And what people don't know about what you do, Nick, what you do is extremely difficult and time consuming. Like the whole like YouTube thing, people think like, oh, you just post. No, dude. Like I come at it as like knowing the whole kind of scene like that. Like, dude, this is a lot, dude, and consistency, dude. And you're very consistent. Which if you're
that's the consistency is one of the craziest things where like when it comes to content creators, and it is like the funnest, like kind of luckiest job in that capacity. And yes, I have to spend all day doing leg day so I can do crab for memes. But like besides that, it's like the consistency, which I know, especially like at podcasting, like there's no such thing as like I don't know, this week like I'm not feeling creative. Oh no, like if
it does not matter.
It does not matter if you're not feeling creative or that. It's just go for it and just have fun. Find a way to make it engaging because there's always all these opportunities too. And I'm sure, like I can't even imagine probably on your end too. You probably had so many, like I know you've had so many guests, but also probably even offers of like really cool people to be like, hey, come on the show, and it'd be just this thing that's so exciting. And even like whatever day it might be, it'd be like, I don't want to talk to this person so badly, and I just like I need also like to sleep for 2 seconds right now.
Sure. Yeah, there's when you do something, you start to get like this. Okay, like this is like my checklist that I have to do to make a really good conversation, or even have a good day in general. You know, and it's so hard to stick by that. I have a rule, like you got to get a full night's sleep, 7-8 hours before a podcast. Don't eat a bean cheeseburger the day before because you're gonna hold back farts during the podcast, and you don't want to do that. And don't drink the day before.
That's good.
All 3 of those things, most podcasts, I break all of them. Because sometimes there's a show the day before, and if I'm hanging out with Suffocation, I'm gonna do shots of whiskey.
Right.
That's it. That's just what's gonna happen. And then the next day, like you try to. You know, you just do your best.
Yeah, you just go with it.
But it's tough.
It's fun, and that's what I love about your podcast, other than it being like probably by far the most like actual, like if I was to say like podcast in the Spear, you are the podcast in the Spear, because
Nik,
it's like,
thank you.
It's legit. You got the setup. It looks nice, which I know dialing that in takes a long minute to like
it sucks
have
ass.
it sucks ass.
Yeah.
Setting it up, making sure all the mics working, and then you come in, and then especially probably once you have it like in a like go mode where it's like a button. Oh, one of the lines don't work. Okay, well, now, you know, the guest is here and we have to make sure.
You got to make it work, man.
You got to make it work. So, like, having that and maintaining it is something that's so hard. But again, it comes off so well when it comes to the quality of what you do. But also, it's very authentic, and I got to give you mad props for that, because
Appreciate
actually,
Thank you.
when I'm watching you, it sounds like a real conversation. Like I said, not just like, so, album name. You know, that's just like that PR told you to write down before, you know what I mean? Like the typical, like, just you know, go through this and this and this. We want to promote the record. Well, you know, and obviously, if you have a good conversation with someone, that will be the best promotion that artist on your show will probably ever have in any other capacity, more than an article or any of this, because people want to be engaged by the conversation instead of just know the minor details of like the meaning of this or the meaning of this. That feels forced instead of naturally coming up in a conversation.
Yeah, totally. Even if you look at it as like a surface level thing, you get the social media clips and the YouTube clips by just talking.
Oh, yeah.
I noticed like don't force anything. Don't just like have a conversation. Then they open up and they'll say shit.
There's
the clip.
Yeah, I don't know if you've had guests on your show too, where you're like surprised that they talk that much, like where even you're like, oh, I thought this was kind of like a more like to themselves, like quiet person that you kind of gotta pull it out of them more, and then all of a sudden, I think, especially because again, your environment seems very comfortable and like nice, and that they're probably like, oh yeah, and then they start talking so much, and you're like, lovely, like it's something different, and something I know when I've had to do it through Zoom, which is way more uncomfortable and less like it's chilled. I've noticed a lot of artists come on the show that I thought were like going to say like 3 words probably, and I probably have to be the majority of the talker.
Yeah.
And then they're like taking the lead. I'm like, this is lovely. They're like so.
It's always nice when that happens.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
it's something relaxing that just like. It feels nice, feels like a conversation, and it's like, oh, thank God. And we don't have enough of that in the space, so thank you for having a good space for that.
I'm honored, man. I'm honored. When I was first dating my chick, she says something, and it evolves. She's like, it's kind of crazy. Like seems like you started a band just to prepare you for this. And she said it, and I was like, it hit me wrong at the first, because I'm always like, suicide, I'm gonna die with being a guitar player for this fucking band.
Yeah.
But then as the months and years go on, I mean, it's right. I mean, it's why I could kind of sit down and talk to anybody. Unfortunately, I have lived this life and roller coaster of a career. Right. You know, we've pretty much been through the worst, and then came back from that, and then lost it again. So maybe Nik, you could help me, or your fans could help me. I've been thinking about this the past like 2 months.
Yeah.
What, not even metal or rock, like how many artists and bands have truly lost their career twice?
Jesus,
once, you know, obviously we've had a death. Some bands have had a death. Some bands just, honest, I would have put out a bad record, but they came back. But what band has actually truly lost their career twice and came back the third time? I don't know.
That's a crazy thing to think
I don't know,
man. And I also love that you're like, you guys are very open to, and I remember talking to you, I think it was like 2 years ago maybe. It was a while ago during, I think, the times,
sure,
the home times, where I know I had you on the show, and I know you mentioned like the self-titled too, and it just being like didn't work out, bro, and like. That's hard for like most bands, no matter what happens, whether it's the numbers saying it or like a consensus, you know, because sometimes that's always different. Like people will be like, this record wasn't a vibe, but then, hey, we got a bunch, you know, the numbers were insane, or like vice versa.
Sure.
And you guys are very like, yep, we tried, we went for it. But with that record too, I think it was probably such an important record in the sense of having to try stuff, you know what I mean?
Totally.
For a band, and like being like, okay. Now we know this all stuff. Maybe this worked, this didn't. Now let's do our thing. You know, let's continue on and kind of go.
Yeah. I would argue that if we didn't do that record, we probably wouldn't be a band anymore. Because creatively, at the time, we were like, I don't know, like stagnant. And Suicide Silence is such a weird band. Like, we're not a band that could put out the same record twice that people talk shit. We put out a record that's two people talk shit. It's like this weird middle ground that you have to hit. So during that time, we did You Can't Stop Me, which was the first record in our career where we we have to sound a certain way.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why You Can't Stop Me sounds like it does, and I was very. It got us through, we did, come back, start, making our money, and the fans were being accepted to Eddie. Yeah. But then we came to write the next stuff, like there's this creative side, it was missing. So we wrote another Suicide Silence record. Yeah. We probably would have dug ourselves into a deeper hole.
Right.
Because now we have this fucking toolbox. Yep. Now we experimented. Now when we do future releases, now we kind of have like this whole, we know what works, we know what doesn't, we know what didn't work, but also hey, we see potential in that. Maybe I could fucking try that and put it,
Well, and something so special, obviously, about Suicide Silence is you guys back in the day were so ahead of like this just. Which again ended up being, OG deathcore, traditional deathcore, but like this raw, aggressive, what the fuck, that's basically happening. Yeah. With intense, dun 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 guitars and wild vocals and just pure aggression. That it's cool to see that like 20 years later now, like loop back with this next. Yeah, especially weird. Being there from like the OG deathcore kind of era. How is it seeing the new age of deathcore come back?
I don't know. It's because when the time, you're talking 2002. Yeah. The genre didn't exist. Yep. People hate it. Whitechapel talks about this too. Like it wasn't cool to be it. So the genre came. Yeah. Now it's a term. It wasn't cool for many years, and so we're out experimenting. There's also, I guess, the genre in a whole was had a very low moment. Like we put out the self-titled. Whitechapel was doing some like singing stuff. Yeah. And out of nowhere, you have Slaughter to Prevail coming out. Like the Lorna Shores brings in this whole other thing. Now you have bands popping up that are starting to sound like that OG thing they had the fucking snare.
The Trash Cat snare,
it's just like,
dude.
Now it's I don't know, man. It is wild. Yeah. It is truly wild, and we're on it just to we're lucky to still be here. Yeah, it's fucking wild, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, you mentioned Whitechapel, and I remember seeing their comeback track. And something I love, like Phil is just like such a nice, wholesome dude. One of the nicest dudes I've ever had the pleasure of meeting in my life. And I remember, when bands usually like, okay, we're coming back and doing the thing that people ask, like the heavier thing. Sure. It usually doesn't hit the mark because, I don't know, people change and grow up and they don't, they don't feel angsty and teenager anymore. Like, that's understandable. Sure. And I remember when the Whitechapel dropped that new track this year, and like, it was like, everyone just dropped their jaw, was like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah. Because it's like, we're back from the 2000s, but it's now.
Now, yeah. Yeah, you gotta. I live my life by the Jimi Hendrix quote. You gotta just constantly remind people who you are. People just forget. So you gotta just kind of like remind, hey, But I will talk shit about Whitechapel for you.
Go for it.
A quick moment. I love those guys. Track's awesome, but to truly go there, you need to dig fucking deep. And the reality is, you gotta lose everything.
Yeah.
We lost everything. Our money, everything. Are they willing to do that? They're not. I'll challenge any deathcore band, any genre of music to do what we did, lose all your money. Yeah. That is, unfortunately, that's what it takes to fucking just rip your fucking heart open and soul and just take out all the bullshit. And then once you do that, and then for us, took some years past. And then you could kind of access these moments, these feelings that you had. Because Suicide Silence is that's the sound of my body. That's my bones.
I got you.
And it took us a long time. We've been in vans for many years. They're on buses. I'll say it. So you gotta lose that, man. You gotta lose it. And
Well, because especially back then, man, I imagine like the 2000s, like when you guys were like peak. I don't know exactly which year, but like when you're seeing like everything fucking start to blow up, right? And,
yeah, sure.
And you know, Disengage and YOLO started dropping and everything like that. And I remember even when I was younger and seeing that on YouTube for the first time, and like even just like as YouTube, I'm like, whoa, this is the most extreme music I've ever heard that is this big ever I've ever noticed, you know?
Sure.
And how was like, I guess how was that era for you guys just even starting to see like, holy shit. Like,
it's a weird feeling because it's like, holy shit, you're there, but also at the same time, nothing's really surprising because it happened in my head as a child. You know, I said this, you know, publicly. Like I've always, as a child, I saw suicide silence in arenas.
Right.
Done. I saw the genre outside. What I noticed in the Inland Empire, which is where we came up, it's a lot of sick bands. Bands like Killing Theory, Bound in Blood, Wrench. Final Burden, a lot of sick bands kind of doing the same thing. Yeah. But what I noticed, even as a stupid teenager, is everyone's kind of overly focused on this little territory. With me, I was like, what about all of California? What about outside of California? What about outside the country? What about around the world? What about not this little theater that everyone's so obsessed with, which I love it, but what if we could take this to a fucking theater and to an arena?
Yeah.
And so when, you know, fast forward 2009, we did like a little Slayer tour, you know, and we're in a fucking arena.
That's so sick.
It's like this, holy shit, we're here, but at the same time, like the vision was just there.
Manifesting it all.
So it's kind of like a manifesting. I saw Korn when I was, I think, 12, 13. Like,
dude, we got the drip, by the way, which we didn't talk about. But this is the official Korn.
This is the Korn drop.
The Korn drop drip, dude. It sold out, I think, in like 2 seconds. I'm pretty sure as soon as they went live. Like, it's one of those that are just like.
Dude, yeah. Shout out to Joe Ling and Ben at Adidas. They, I had a box show up at my house and opened it up and it was that beanie. It was a tracksuit.
Oh, dude, that's
I was
sick.
Like, that's fucking cool, man. And I was like, and I asked Jay, our producer, for the pod, you know, I'm kind of insecure about it. Where am I going to wear that thing? Where am I going to wear that? He's like, where on the pod, man? Yeah. And so when this opportunity came, I was like, I'm wearing it.
Is this the first time you're wearing it? No.
Yeah, it is. I'm like, I'm wearing it for Nick. I'm wearing it for Nick's show.
That, dude, I feel honored. Now, I thought you had it and you haven't worn it publicly.
No, I was saving it for this moment here.
A special moment,
cool.
dude. Well, dude, cool. It's super sick. Again, I just have this random thing I got on the interwebs, but yeah, I look gold and stupid. That's super sick. I remember when they dropped that, I was like,
it was great.
I was like, damn. It's cool to see, again, like bands like fucking Korn, I know were obviously a big influence like on you, and like also like massive. The 2000s, where it's weird how it went like new metal being massive. And then like the cores, like Deathcore, obviously being an extreme level of that eventually, and you know, not necessarily having the rapping parts or like the new parts, but like it just being like everyone kind of making those bands where like, yeah, I fucking love new metal. And now 20 years later, like there's things like new Deathcore, you know, like where these like it has like Korn weird noises, but then it has dun 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 dun, you know, it's crazy
wild.
to hear.
It's wild, man. That's why you always gotta give it. No matter what happens in heavy music, you gotta talk about Brian and Head and Monkey. Like those, everyone basically rips off those two guys. It's just everybody. And obviously, like you have like the dorks that go, oh, well, what about the band before Korn? Shut the fuck up. Everyone steals. I get it.
Right.
But everyone steals the riffs from Head and Monkey. Everyone, the Gent to us to.
Yeah.
Modern deathcore. Or if you hear a top string riff and the fucking any kind of high thing up here, whatever, it's Korn.
It's Korn.
It's Korn, dude.
Well, nowadays too, I like all of the. I feel like the 2024s or whatever it might be is kind of just a regurgitation in like a healthier, weird, modern way of obviously the 2000s, where like everyone's doing now these jukebox albums too, where like you'll hear an album and be like, that's the Deftones song. That's the Korn song. Wow. That's the Slipknotty song. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of this, at least in like the modern metal or metalcore kind of era, where you're like, okay, I see where that came from. You can tell the influence is very like kind of thrown in there. And even, dude, I've been hearing a lot of Suicide Silence coming in a lot of these like more new age. I don't know if you ever hear like Psycho Frame or stuff like that.
Psycho Frame, Tactosa kind of bands.
Yeah,
it's like, yo, dude, like, is that Mitch?
Dude, the vocals level too has been insane.
Is that Mitch, dude? Did they fucking break into the studio and steal that fucking snare? Like, what the fuck, dude? Someone got robbed, man. It is wild. And, you know, bands like that, you know, it's kind of happening again because, you know, Suicide Silence would not be Suicide Silence without Job for a Cowboy and Whitechapel, because no band could do it by themselves.
Right.
You kind of need other bands rising so things bubble up.
Yeah.
And same thing, new to your Lornas, to your Slaughters, to your Psycho Frames. So now you need like bands to kind of bring you up. But not even Korn. Korn had Limp Bizkit, Deftones, you name it. So they had a whole this whole genre happen. So it's kind of happening again, where like everything is bubbling.
Yeah.
So
are you because you have so many cool, especially modern younger guests on your show in terms of like new bands that are coming up and in the scene. Do you get influenced like listening to some of this crazy alien noise drop pitch WTF for things when you're at home now doing like Suicide Silence stuff and you're like, like even if it doesn't, like it'll sound Suicide Silence because it's coming from your fingers, right?
Sure.
But like with like all the new tools, like the new tools of like computers and pitch shifting, like has there been something you've been messing around with?
Totally, dude. I mean, everybody, because back then we could kind of suck. But so no one else is doing it, so you stick out. You know, I could do some chugs. Cool. Now, all the guitar players in the genre are actually good. They're actually good players. So that makes me like, well, they're sick. I want to be sick too. Right. So now, you know, that.
You're sick. Come on, give yourself more credit, man.
Thank you.
You hold it down, man.
Thank you. So it's like, you know, they made me want to practice. They made me kind of rehone my craft. Also, I get to see bands. You know, I am in Southern California, so it's like I could. I'm lucky. So I'm just going to all the shows. I'm seeing deathcore bands, new metalcore bands. I didn't know who Alpha Wolf was until they played a small venue down the street. I was like, okay, I'll check all the. So I watched them. I'm like, okay, it's something. When you consistently put in new shit into your mind, could be music, could be books, learning. Something happens to your fucking brain where it forces you to be open-minded, and that causes a new form of being creative. So now, like, we started writing our new record 2 weeks ago, and I don't know, man. I'm playing different.
Oh yeah, weird.
It's weird. I don't know. I'm not trying. I'm just like, I wouldn't normally do that.
Right.
So it's like the self-titled Backlash, being broke for a long time. Plus also being inspired, plus the new bands really pushing me without them knowing. I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. Something is happening.
That's exciting, man.
So I owe that to, I do owe, you know, like whatever this new part of my life or career is, you know, I will always owe it to the new bands coming up, no matter how big or small they like they might be. But also at the same time, Nick, we all know what's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
I'm gonna crush them.
I love the guy. Well, you can crush them now.
Yes.
With your brand new 7-string.
Yes,
Right here.
great.
We got to talk about
segue.
Dude, I got you, man. I've been doing this for at least a year. Okay.
Pro segue, Nick.
We got
all
this.
Right,
like let's just pick up this beauty. So we have the first. Is this the first ever 7-string Fender, technically?
Okay, so this is the first Fender 7-string with a Fender hardtail.
Okay.
So Squire did 7 strings, 2000, 2001, 2002.
Okay.
And that had a hardtail, but it's not a Fender. So luckily, when we're doing, this is number 2. I don't know if you see that. CG, number 2, motherfucker. We're talking, hey, can I make an actual Fender hardtail? Because this one has the hip shot. Yeah. And I want a Fender hardtail. And they're like, they don't exist, but we'll make it. So what's really cool about Fender is I'm lucky. I live down the street from there. Yeah. So they always give me tours. So they had like a lot of the old machinery still there. Oh. So all like the weird like metal benders from like the 50s and 60s, they're still in the warehouse. So that, you know, so it's kind of like modern, but they use all of the old school tools to make the hardtail. Now, but obviously this was the first extended scale Fender 7-strings. That's 26 and a half.
Okay.
26 and a half.
That's a lot of scale. You guys can have some fun with that going a little lower.
Yeah.
That's a beauty, man.
It does not seem real, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is wild.
And those are available right now publicly for someone to buy?
I'm trying.
I'm
trying, man.
Soon.
I'm trying. So, I mean, if you are listening and watching this, the reality is I could sit here and talk shit all I want, but the reality is, like, I do need help. Fender is a very different company. It's fucking Fender.
It's Fender, dude.
It's Fender. Yeah. It's the biggest company on the planet, and they do go by numbers. So I do need. So if you want a Fender 7, you need to, I don't know, tell them, tag them, give Garza a fucking 7.
Give Garza a 7. Email them.
Something, dude. Something. So my dream, my goal is to literally probably have this exact specs and model to be a signature at some point. Probably do like a short run.
Right.
And then hopefully that sells good, and then they could kind of see. Fender is a company where they have to see. They have to see it.
I mean, they see the guitar. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. Hey, you see this? You see how cool this
looks really
thing is?
fucking cool.
What the fuck, Fender? Come on. So, so I think in time, I do have a lot of faith without trying not to get like spiritual. Yeah. So this is the first one, real quick. I could go back. This one real quick. Okay, I'll make.
Of course, man.
I'll make this real short.
We're giving away so many guitars for this award show too. We got to talk about guitars with somebody.
Okay, so real quick, I'll condense it down to like a few minutes. Okay?
Oh, go for it.
So I approached Fender in 2017.
Right.
Because my friend Alex Zimmer from back home knew someone in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, in my head, it popped in there.
Yeah.
Like, I want a Fender 7-string.
Yeah.
How am I gonna get?
It's such a random thought, but I love it.
Because my first guitar was a Fender Strat, and
that makes sense.
Anyway, I got a hookup. I met everyone there. I met like the LA Fender, and shout out to Jason Klein. He asked around for 3 years someone to build it, and no one would fucking touch it. So I've gotten, in my life, dude, my whole life, I've gotten no's, maybes, and seen no's become yeses.
Yeah,
over years. So that's why I could kind of talk shit and be like, hey, let's see what happens. So it could be a no now, but in a few years, we could see 100 of these things.
Dude, I hope so, man.
So then, but time in life, a dude my age that worked at the Fender for a long, long time, his name is Carlos Lopez. He was a new hire at the custom shop, my age. So he was the kind of guy that wants to do all the weird shit.
Yeah.
Me and him met. Clicked. He's like, I will make you a 7-string.
He'll do it.
And a year later, Carlos Lopez did the fucking. He was also the only guy at the time that knew how to make a guitar on the computer. So he did the specs. This was the fucking first one. Damn, the very first one. Shout out to Carlos Lopez that has a drawing, and we're gonna do a number 2, because he was like he fucking loved it, and COVID happened.
Oh fuck.
COVID happened, so he quit Fender, and then started his own company called Casadosa, which are great. And then again, I was back to square one.
Right.
Fender was saying, all my homies at Fender were like, dude, the second one might be harder than the first one. I was like, dude, it's been fucking 3-4 years, man. Well, anyway, so a few more years passed, and they said we could probably make it now.
Dude, so this looks again. It looks beautiful, and again,
it's fucking crazy.
Like
it's crazy.
I gotta give you mad props. That's hardcore dedication, and it looks hard because I love like the matte black.
It's fucking hard, dude.
Well, hopefully, guys, help Garza get it there.
Help me out, dude. Come on.
Help Garza get it there.
Actually, fuck me. Help you out. You want one? You gotta. Fuck me, dude.
There you go. Make it happen, guys.
Make it happen.
And Jesus, man, it's just
I'm fucking lucky, man. I'm lucky, dude.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I could sit here and probably talk with you for 5 hours, and we would just shoot the shit and do that. We need to just do that in general one day.
Let's fucking cut this shit, dude. What's up?
Let's just.
What's up, man?
What's up? just 5 hours and vibe. But dude, honestly, again, legend. Pleasure as always. Taking time.
Hey Nick, what you are doing is fucking badass, and do not forget that you're a badass motherfucker, dude. What you do takes very hard work.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
So it's cool, man.
And likewise, bro. Suicide Sounds for Life podcast. Go watch fucking Chris's podcast.
Shit. Yeah. Okay. So outro, right? Outro. Okay.
Go ahead. Just knock him out.
Check out Suicide Songs, please. Check out the Garza podcast every Monday. Check out the Suicide Songs podcast every Thursday. Yeah, listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, and see us when we're in town.
See us when we're in town. Chris Garza, everybody. Thank you so much, brother.
Everyone, thank you. Later.
Peace out.